Welcome, everybody.
Hey.
Hello. How about no? This is Shared Chapters,
Shared
episode
chapters.
3.
Whoop
Mhm,
whoop.
mhm.
With Emily
With Emily and Sarah.
and Sarah.
Hello. Welcome to our life.
Today we are talking about Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas.
Dun dun dun.
Mass?
Maas. I don't know.
Okay.
Maas.
Anyway.
Anyhow, I say Moss, but I'm sure
I think it's Moss.
me too.
All right.
So I
Let's
think we're right.
okay. Spoilers.
Uh yes. Hey everybody. There's spoilers on here, so enter if you dare. Okay, so this is a quick summary, and I'm pulling this from Recaptains. It's a website, recaptains.co.uk. Check them out, I guess. And their summary is Selena is now the king's champion and is supposed to stop a secret rebel movement against him. And her first target, well, she's had a few targets, but her next target is Archer Finn, and he's a courtesan she used to know. In the book, actually, pretty early on, you find out that she isn't really killing her targets. And then a lot of other things are going on. Selena finds out about an evil creature living in the castle library, and a riddle in Elena's tomb teaches her about the word keys and how to open the word gate, which is basically realms. Dorian finds out he's got magic
Magic.
and magic. Selena and Kaol get together. They finally kiss. They finally have their romantic moment. I know everybody's so happy about that. Nehemia, they kind of argue. Her and Selena have a little bit of a rift between them. And then actually, she gets killed. She's dead. Very, very sad. And that whole business is pretty messed up because eventually you find out that Archer Finn is the one who basically killed Nehemia, which is a huge betrayal. Huge betrayal. But in the moment, Selena doesn't know that. She totally blames Kaol for knowing that there were threats against Nehemia's life and that he
Mhm.
wasn't doing anything about it. So all of these things are happening, and she basically like freaks the F out. She's so broken. She's so heartbroken. She opens a portal and releases a monster. We find out she's Fae.
Yeah, she's
She's
been
kind of
known
known
that.
that. She's been trying to hide that, but
Yes.
and Kaol's there and he sees that she's Fae and
But not
lots
Dorian.
of fighting, but not Dorian. But Dorian has magic and helps them through that little portal battle, as I'm going to call it. Archer is actually there right before all the shit goes down, and he runs like a coward down the drainage tunnel or whatever, where they are below the castle. And she goes after him. She's incredibly depleted, like from her own power as Fae, trying to fight against the demons that are coming through the portal. And she tracks him down and kills him. And Kaol sees it and is like, I think, really taken aback by the viciousness of it. But I cannot say that I blame her.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that happens. Everybody's exhausted. Kaol is like believing that he's doing the right thing and like thinking about her safety because she is Fae and she does have magic, that he's going to send her to Wendelin, which is where the Fae are living and prospering at the moment, because he thinks it's going to keep her safe. He gets his dad in on it and his dad supports him. But, in return, Kaol has to go back to the White Fang Mountains, right? Is that where he's from?
I think it's Aritia or something like that. Next, like he's near. Yes, technically,
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
near the White Fang Mountains. Kaol, thinking he's doing the right thing, is like, yeah, I'll go. He kind of hatches this plot and brings it to the king that she should go and kill, as the king's champion, go and kill the royal family in Wendelin. The king is like, hey, that's a great idea. Selena, having to agree, is like, yeah, That sounds good. And then they're at the ship and she's like getting ready to leave. And that's when we find out that she is actually Aelin, the lost queen of Terrasen.
Lost heir of Terrasen.
Lost heir. Yeah. At this point, queen, because spoiler, nobody else is
Family's
alive
dead.
except for Aiden. Yeah, her family is completely dead.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a rough summary of the book. All right. I think the most obvious question that I have for you is how did you feel about Kale's and Selena's like romantic development? Clearly, it happened. I think it happened slow enough, but it also happened over the span of like two books, which maybe people don't think is necessarily as slow burn as you want it to be.
Yeah. I liked it because I like kale. Kale. I know that people say that you won't.
I don't.
But I don't think I'll hate him. Like I've seen a lot of people say it
Yeah.
like 22 years old. Like what is
Yeah.
he
Give the
supposed
guy
to
a
do?
break.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure I'll be disappointed by maybe like some of his actions, but I'm also the kind of person who is like, well, what was he supposed to do?
Yeah. What
What
did
was he
you
supposed to do?
expect?
Yeah. So that was, I mean, I liked it, but I think he has the capabilities to be able to understand her and let her, as the assassin, maybe let her be who she is. But I think he has maybe some conflicting feelings revealing herself as Faye now. So I don't know. I mean, I liked it, and I wanted to freak out when he said that he loved her at the end of the book because I was like,
Ah,
of course you say it now as she's leaving. Of course you did.
she did tell him not to.
Yeah.
I think like a few maybe chapters before,
Yeah.
but I don't think he could help it, honestly.
But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on it. I didn't mind it. I don't know. I liked his birthday scene. I liked that we get to see like a softer side of her with him.
Hmm.
And I think that's why I like it. She feels as though she can be more emotional or open with him.
Yeah.
But not anymore, but I guess we'll see what
Mm,
happens.
bye. Oh, I
Yeah.
love you. I'm going on a ship and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Although that's not her, it wasn't her decision, clearly. So,
No. And I think he did that out of love and trying to protect her and
yeah,
maybe giving her,
desperation.
yeah, I think it was desperation, but I think he knows what he's doing in the sense of sending her there, and I think he knows what she is capable of for the most part. And I think
Yeah.
he knows what's going to happen when she goes there. And he knows there'll be a rebellion and she will be back at some point. And I think he has all the intentions of that happening. But
Hmm.
like what is he supposed to do? I've seen a lot of people have issue with him, but he's still loyal to the king. And I'm like, yeah, well what is he
Not
supposed to
really,
do?
though.
Him and what army? He's not going to take the king
Yeah.
down. I'm like, Aelin
Yeah.
isn't even home yet. We don't
Yeah.
He is loyal to her. He said to her at his birthday dinner, I will go
I'll
with you wherever
leave.
you
Yeah.
go. I'm sure they won't be together at some point. I get that. I think there will always be like mutual respect and love
Yeah.
there, no matter what.
Yeah. I think that's a good point that you make of like him in what army.
What is he
I
supposed
think
to do?
people put a lot of pressure on him. Even Dorian.
Yeah,
Dorian's not doing anything
no,
either. Let's be honest.
yeah,
So, like when people give Kale such a hard time, I think I see your point
yeah.
of what is he supposed to? He's literally been handed absolutely nothing and is doing the best he can to survive.
And
So,
yeah, and obviously at this point, he's not in the little king's little group there. So he doesn't really
yeah,
know what's going on. And to
no,
me, that means the king doesn't trust him to know what's going on.
right.
That's why I'm like, there's not a lot for him to be able to do right now. There's not a lot she can do right now, and she knows that. So why
Yeah,
is it his fault? I
right,
just don't get it.
right.
But
Yeah. My next question is, were you at all surprised or taken aback that she wasn't actually killing her targets? Like, did you expect that?
I think so, yes. I kind of I would okay, coming in out of like Throne of Glass, you're like, uh-oh, now what's gonna happen? Obviously now like there's how many books to the series. So I knew I
Hmm.
didn't I think I knew that there would be some kind of twist to it pretty much because I was like, well, we're not just going to jump 2 years ahead to where she's free. So
Yeah. What did you think about Roland or Rolland? I'm not sure which one it is, but
yeah, I think it's Roland. I mean, I think he's okay. Obviously, the headache, he's getting headaches now. Kaltain had headaches. He has the black obsidian ring. He's a groupie. So I'm curious about you, but I also think I don't think that he's a bad guy. I think it's kind of like a Kaltain situation where this person who's trying to have some kind of power in the way of being like important to the crown.
hmm,
I think he's just was trying to weasel his way, and the king can see weak people like that.
like manipulate them
Yes, and
basically
yeah,
because trying to give them what they
right. Yeah.
basically want, which is the power.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't think he's an outright bad person. I just think that he's naive and easily manipulative easily
I remember
manipulated.
that. Yeah.
I'm kind of
Uh,
indifferent. I know we'll get more of him, I'm sure, just like with Caltaine, but
I mean, you definitely see both of them. Like, I feel like that's a
well, they
given.
got shipped away and I would assume that we would see them again. But
Yeah. Oh, one thing I totally forgot to. Well, actually, speaking of Caltaine, what did you? Her like prison scenes make me pretty sad for her. I think in the
mhm,
first book, people can be very hasty to be like, F her, she got what she deserved because she's betraying and
mhm,
going against people. I think Maas did a really good job of portraying the whole situation as like almost pretty animalistic
mhm.
and like really gritty.
I liked Caltaine and I understood again where she was coming from. She's
Yeah.
just trying to get power, dude, and she's being manipulated and she's just this girl, okay,
Yeah.
that they're using. It makes me feel poorly for her because I think she knows that she was way smarter to get swindled like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like blaming yourself almost.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot to say in the summary that you're introduced to Mort,
Mort.
the funny door knocker skull, who I
Love
definitely pictured. I don't know what his name is in Beauty and the Beast, but when I
the
think of
clock.
Mort, I think of the guy with the clock face, and that is definitely not how he just is described. So don't ask me why. I think his dialogue reminds me of the clock from
Mhm.
Beauty and the Beast. So I just associated visually that.
Yeah, I like Mort. I think obviously I wish that he gave us answers, but
Yeah,
that
little
he knows
bastard.
that's not the point. He is like, you got to figure it out for yourself or ask better questions because
Yeah.
you're pretty pitiful if you can't. But as you said, we don't see him again.
We, and this is not a spoiler. I don't know why this is. We never see Mort again, unless I'm missing something. And I don't
I
think I
think that's a
am.
spoiler, but because I like
Well,
Mort.
yeah, but I know Mort is such a good character, but I say it because I'm like, where is he?
On that
Because
door down.
yeah, but here's the thing. I can't tell you that because it's a spoiler, so never mind.
We'll get there when we get there.
We will. Anyway,
Love
Rip
Mort.
Mort.
I like, yeah, R.I.P. He's
R.I.P.
stuck
Mort.
there.
Just there,
He's
only
there
goes for his
still.
friends. Yeah,
He's there
literally.
still. Well, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What did you think of Selena's and Nehemia's last fight, like their last conversation?
I think actually Selena annoyed me in this book because and I'm not trying to be like insensitive to, like what she has been through and, maybe she's literally exhausted of trying to survive and save the day and she just wants to like live a normal life,
Mm-hmm.
but she knows who she is. She knows what's at stake. So when she's having fights with Elena or Nehemia, I'm just like, shut up. You know what you have to do, so just suck it up and do it. But, that's clearly easier said than done. So I wanted to slap her because of the immaturity I think that she was bringing to the situation.
Hmm. I felt bad for Selena just because she's like, oh my God, I have one fucking moment of peace, and now I'm getting
Yeah.
told that I have to save the world once again or whatever. But like you said, you know who you are, and you kind of know that it's the only hope that anyone has. So,
Yeah.
but what was your reaction whenever Nehemia died?
So I will be honest, like as a character, I was not emotionally attached to Nehemia. I knew, I think from the get-go that she was hiding something, clearly, as we all
Duh.
find out. Yeah, like that's not hard to
Duh.
interpret, I don't think.
No. She says
Um,
like all these kind of things to everybody, and you're like,
yeah, and we're
what?
like, what? Like when
Yeah.
she talks to Dorian
That poor
and
kid. I feel so bad
I
for him.
know.
He's like,
I told you.
I have magic and now
Yeah.
I have to do something with it, but this girl told me something at the ball and I don't know what it means. And now she's dead.
Who
Yeah.
am I supposed to go
I
talk
feel
to?
so bad for him because he's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
poor guy. So I mean, I wasn't expecting her death. Like I wasn't envisioning that as a possibility. I kind of thought she would just fly away. you know, she would just kind of like disintegrate into like not really a friend, but she would still be alive somewhere. Like maybe she would go back home and I don't know, do stuff
Yeah.
back home. Yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't emotionally attached to her. My emotional reaction came from Selena's emotional reaction
Hmm.
to Nehemia's death. Like that anger and that rage and that moment where she knows that Nehemia's in trouble and so she runs like literally across the city. Like that's definitely a scene that gave me goosebumps like when I was reading it for sure.
Hmm. I mean, I felt sad and I didn't expect her to die so soon. Like I
Yeah.
knew she was going to because that got spoiled for me, but I didn't know when or how or whatever.
Mhm.
It took me by surprise, not whenever Kale was told by the king there's
Yeah.
been like a threat to her life. After that happened, I'm like, oh, what's happening now?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Uh-oh.
How did you feel about it basically like being the destruction of Kaol's and Selena's relationship, even friendship, like at the bare basis of it.
I understand it from that feeling of betrayal, and she's been betrayed
Yeah.
before by people close to her. But I also understand like the king warning Kale, he's not really giving him any kind of like
What's
details.
he supposed to do?
That's what I'm
And
saying.
also, I'm fairly certain Nehemia was saying, no, don't put extra guards on me because she was getting extra guards, right?
Yeah, Kale like put his men in the, I mean, some of his men died. It
Yeah.
like they had no idea who the threat was. Like Kale had no idea and he didn't want to
Yeah.
tell Selena because she was already having to worry about so many things, and his thought process was, well, we have more men on him. We're keeping an eye out, and I don't necessarily need to tell Selena about it because we don't even know any details. And if
Yeah.
she knows that
Exactly.
Nehemia is getting threats, then she won't be doing her job, and then that will get her in
Right.
trouble. And
Right.
I think it was just a, well, oops, probably should have told you that, but at the time I didn't think it through.
Yeah. Well, I think it's goes back to Kale being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like what each choice he makes is the wrong one
Hmm. I
because
literally,
he only has
yeah,
wrong choices available to
yeah.
him.
I literally wrote down, he is literally just a man.
Yeah.
And what do you expect? Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't know what
He's
you're,
one person.
yeah, I don't know what you're expecting from him. I feel bad for him because he's like, well, if I don't do what the king tells me to do, I'm gonna get killed or she'll get killed. If
Yeah.
I tell her, she'll do something stupid and out of rage. And he saw that rage
Yeah.
and that's why he didn't want to tell her.
Yeah, she literally physically attacked him.
Yeah. I understand her saying, like, if you would have told me, I could have maybe prevented this. But Nehemia also said, I know this is coming, and
Yes.
but this is what's going to set her.
Yeah.
This is what is going to make Selena actually do something.
in the moment where, Selena goes back down to the tomb and Elena is there, there's a moment where she asks, do you think Nehemia like knew she was going to die and chose to do nothing in order to propel me
Yep.
to act? Elena was like, no, don't think about that. But from that answer, Selena pretty much interpreted that, yeah, she knew she was going to be basically sacrificed for what will ultimately become, the greater good.
Right.
So kind of like speaking of that, but specifically that betrayal, did you see Archer? Did you see that coming at all? Did you get any like feelings? Or were you like, oh, okay, he's like a guy that she knows, they're friends. And then all of a sudden, like at the end, you're like, oh, F that guy.
I think that no, I think I was definitely like, oh, what?
Yeah.
But
You're kind of disappointed because you're like, oh, I kind of like liked him.
I didn't like him. I don't know how, I don't know. I didn't really have any feeling towards him. I'm just like, oh goody, he's just this other loser that she has to try to
Yeah, that she knows from her past.
that she knows from her past that she has to keep her eye on. Yeah, I didn't really have any feelings toward Archer until he took the book from her. And I loved when she was faking him out and telling him that she was on his side. And then before he knew it,
Boom.
you're dead.
What did you think of the Moss introducing Baba Yellowlegs?
I don't know. I wrote down a couple of things, and
Yeah.
I think that introduced some of the history of like the witches
Yeah.
and the different backstory. So that I liked that, and I'm kind of looking forward to hopefully learning more about the Volg. Was
The
that what
flag.
the Vlag, the demons, and then
Yes.
the other witches and the Iron Teeth, and that's another thing I
The
wrote down.
Cochranes. Yeah.
She really likes to talk about colors of gems and metals.
She does.
She really, really does. And that kind of, I have, I don't, you have read everything, so I don't know if it's
Yeah. Tell me
anything at
your
all.
theories.
I think this is what I wrote. I think it's kind of weird that Selena has a ring from Kale. The King's Peeps have the obsidian rings, and she has an
Mm-hmm.
amethyst ring, and she hasn't taken it off. And he says that he got it at the feast.
Yeah.
I don't think it means anything. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a symbol of them. But I was like, oh, it's kind of weird that she has a ring. They have a ring from this
Mm-hmm.
clock tower.
I will say, if you want, pay attention to the rings, but I'm
Okay.
not going to tell you which ones.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do you feel validated?
No.
Yeah. Do you have any other symbols? I have a couple of key things and people to note on.
Well, yeah. So obviously, like the iron, I wrote in my notes. What is they keep talking about iron? They talked about it in the first book. They talked about it in this book, and now I know that it stops magic and it
Yeah.
stops like the
Right.
word marks and stuff like that. So that was kind of resolved. I'm sure it'll come up again, but that was nice to know. I was like, why is there so many iron doors? Like, what is? She keeps pointing out these iron
Yes,
doors, these iron
exactly.
doors. So that was nice to know. Like, oh, so it has something to do with controlling. Got it.
And all of those iron doors are in the castle.
I also thought it was. I wrote this down. Back to Mort. Mort laughed at her when she said her name as Selena,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, he knows. They already know.
Hell yeah. Are you
They
kidding
already
me? Everybody
know.
knows. She's late to the party.
Yeah.
Cole's late to the party. Dorian's late to the party.
Dorian, that's another thing that I wrote. It says that Dorian had met Aelin before when they were young,
Yeah.
and he mentioned, "Oh, I wonder if like she was still around or."
Okay, so now I have some things.
Okay.
So, one is a really big one, and I actually never noticed it before. So this is a brand new like tidbit for me, and I haven't really thought about it. I just noticed it, and so I'm going to ask you if you have any thoughts on it at all.
Is it gonna
Because I haven't,
spoil it?
No, I haven't dissected it. I have no idea what it refers to at all.
Okay.
Okay, so it's chapter 43.
Yep.
She's in the library
Mm-hmm.
and she's going down to the secret doors.
Mm-hmm.
And like then they realize there's something in the castle and
Right.
sneaking around and shit. I never noticed this, but Sarah J. Maas specifically does a number sequence. She says there's 99 numbered doors, and then the next corridor opens into a hallway that has 66 doors, and then a corridor with 33 doors, and then 22, and then 11, then 9, and then 6. Like she's spelling out all of these numbers, and I never noticed that before.
I have it highlighted, so
You do?
yeah, I noticed it. I was like, well, that's a lot of numbers, and
Yeah. I never noticed that before. I
how
have
many?
bits. I was just gonna say, like, because I went back and looked at my highlights, what I highlighted to be like, hey, this is interesting to
Yeah.
me. Like this must mean something. Definitely a lot of things in Elena's tomb, definitely more like all that kind of stuff. But like I had highlighted things before that number sequence
Mm-hmm.
and then after, but not the number sequence. It
So
didn't
how many numbers
register.
are there?
So there's 99, 66, 33, 22, 11, 9, 3.
Darn it. My theory was, oh, the nine circles of hell, but that's
Ooh.
not nine numbers, so never mind.
Interesting that you mentioned hell, though.
Yeah,
For those of you who know, you know.
well, just saying.
I can't believe I never noticed that sequence before.
Yeah, I noticed the numbers and I was like, that'll probably mean something down the road, but I don't know about it yet.
I can't remember. I don't
Well,
really
I'll
remember
keep a look
anything
at it.
correlating.
I'll keep a
Yeah,
lookout with some
since
fresh
you're
eyes.
fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the numbering and I figured that it meant something. She also says that there's, I think this was in the first book, there was 8 gargoyles that, yeah, I noticed the gargoyle thing. I
No,
don't,
not gargoyles. The
that's what it,
number
oh, 8.
8.
Yeah.
So
Well,
pay attention to that. Everybody listening.
well, I will.
Yeah, singular.
Yeah. I also am interested in figuring out or finding out if the king is that dumb or if he knows that something's like knows what she's doing. I'm like he cannot
Yeah.
be that stupid. He cannot be
Yeah,
that
especially
stupid.
because he is a projection of evil.
Yeah.
He has to know what's going on.
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't actually remember if that is like a statement of, you think I didn't know? You
Yeah.
know, honestly, I think by the end of it, it's just like interpreted that they literally weren't being sly.
Yeah. It's not like he's being necessarily like underground with his power. He's
Yeah,
really not being
exactly.
secretive with it, especially like with the rings. I mean, he's dominating. He knows that there's monsters or creatures or whatever. Obviously, he built the castle and
It's
he
his
knows.
castle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he knows.
exactly.
And I think he knows who Selena is. Like, I think he knows that Aelin is his assassin, trying to use her as part of the plan, or kind of seeing like, I think he's trying to see if she will lead him to either like the second or third word key. That's,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes complete sense. Why like throw away somebody who's doing some of the work,
yeah,
basically?
yeah,
Because like, I mean, Mort even says this, like it freaking took you long enough to find the first
yeah.
one. He
He
found
found
it,
it
blah, blah, blah.
when he was your age. Yeah, quicker
Yeah,
than him.
exactly. I think that's the scene where they figure out the anagram. Ah, time's rift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'm the first, and they're looking at all the constellations in the tomb and, a lot of that really intricate stuff.
Yeah, I'm just excited that I'll get to see more of like the world, not just in Rifthold or
Yeah.
a Darling, where the glass castle's
Yeah.
at.
What Anna God, the glass castle, yeah.
That place, the
A
palace.
darling. Yeah. So speaking of kind of Elena, her resting place, the tomb, and we get more of, Brannon and Gavin and kind of the backstory of, that like part of the history of that region.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about these constellations, and I didn't know if you noticed that the constellations that were around were the dragonfly, the stag, which is obviously a symbol of Terrasen,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gonna totally butcher this. The Wyvern.
The wyvern.
Wyvern. Yeah. I was just gonna say the Wyvern, I think Baba Yellowlegs talks about. Like I vaguely remember her talking about those creatures when she's discussing the Vlag with.
Yeah, I think they mentioned wyvern. I knew that wyvern weren't going to be introduced into the series. I just
Hmm.
wasn't sure when. I'm interested. I didn't notice the dragonfly one. I don't know why, but I definitely remember the wyvern. But yeah, definitely like the stag. That's the first time that I noticed since, I guess this can lead into Assassin's Blade. I'm reading Assassin's Blade third in the sequence, just like Sarah J. Maas released it and her preferred order. For me, this was the first time when she mentioned the stag constellation, at least.
So you said you're reading Assassin's Blade. So which story are you on?
I am on the Assassin in the Desert. I think the third novella. I'm only a couple pages in. I just started it, but I read the Assassin and the Pirate Lord with introducing Sam, and then the Assassin and the Bar Maiden. I don't remember what the title of that one was. The one,
Urine or
yes,
how do you say her name?
I think it. I don't know. It could just be
Maybe it's not
Irene.
Urine. That's true.
I don't know. I liked that one. I also am happy that I'm reading this one third. I
Irene. We're stupid.
Well, it wasn't me.
Her
I'm happy
name is
that
Irene.
I'm happy that I'm reading Assassin's Blade third. I know a lot of people say to read it first because you get more of an introduction and you won't be so confused with the first two books. I I mean you do you, and that's fine. Like I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell you that you can't, but I would highly suggest to not do that. I think reading Assassin's Blade third because you're getting first of all, I will die on this hill. Read books like when they were published in the
Yeah.
order that they were published. If you don't, whatever. I can't. Like you
We're
do
not going
you.
to tell you what to
Again,
do, but if you don't do this.
yeah. I feel very strongly about reading in universes that are kind of interlinked. Like I'm going Throne of Glass, Akatar, Crescent City. And if things overlap, like if 2014 has two books that came out that year and two different of the Sarah J. Maas universe, I'll read both of them. I'm just gonna go by date published. I just think that's the most logical way. Again, they're books. Read them how you want. Like,
Yeah.
but for
Right.
me, I have to do it that way. That's just how it works. And I think
Yeah.
it's more fun because then you're like, oh shit, that's what that means. Like,
Yeah. You get
oh
that surprise.
yeah, you get the resolution. And I'm like, I don't think I was necessarily confused in the first two books because I noticed those certain
Yeah.
things like, oh, she has a lot of names. And I kind of figured like
Right.
this is a main girl. At this point, there's a lot of books. So I figured she
Yeah.
was important. But I definitely think it's worth it to read it third.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, I will die on this hill that I was with her from the beginning. All these different orders that people are reading them in. I don't know what that confusion or what that like argument is because that just wasn't that just wasn't something that I experienced. That's not something I guess I had to experience. So, do you like a particular story more than the others so far?
Of Assassin's Blade.
Yeah. And then after that, like which I guess at this point, which Throne of Glass book you like the best so far?
So with Assassin's Blade, I liked the Irene story,
Okay.
but that's just because I've only read two of them so far.
Right. Yeah.
And then I liked Crown of Midnight more than Throne
Yeah.
of Glass. Just because
More happens.
yeah, different things happen. I struggle a lot with reading the first 100 pages of every story.
Yeah.
So at least with Crown of Midnight, I'm like, all right, we already have backstory. I don't need a
Yeah.
lot of world building right now. What was your rating? Do you remember your rating of Crown of Midnight?
I think it was I think it was 4.
Okay. So I gave Crown of Midnight a 5 out of 5.
Did you?
I gave it. You
That's
want to
great.
Here? I'll read my review to you. Okay. And maybe this is just a forewarning. Maybe don't review the book. Maybe sit with it for a day.
Yeah.
Maybe sit with for a day. Okay. I just finished it. It's 1:34 a.m. and I need to throw myself off the clock tower. It was slow for me till about 140 pages in. I love them all, even the bad guys. It's the best kind of character building and development.
Great. That's a great review.
I feel very strongly about the developments that we're getting of the characters, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I maybe looking back, I maybe probably wouldn't give it 5 out of 5. At the feeling at the end of the story, I was like,
Yeah. It got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe now I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. It was I still really I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't once I get past the first few chapters when it's just kind of like a recap or stuff like
Well, it's
that.
a recap and like I mean, you still are having to continue to build the world. So
Yeah,
you have to put in like that kind of effort. So mine was a 5 out of 5.
yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, I liked Throne of Glass too, but it's just a lot of world building and that's not always
Yeah.
fun. But I'm sure
Right.
in the next few books I'll get it's like that meme. I'll have to find like a video of it. It's like the now we wait. Okay, go. Keep holding my hand. Keep holding my
Yeah.
hand. That meme where I'm scared.
Okay. Well, what is some of your top 3 new to be read? You have anything that you're like, ooh,
The other day I went after I finished Crown of Midnight, I went on a to be read spree of books.
yeah.
I added so many. I would like to point out I want to read our cousin gave me a recommendation of reading
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The Nightingale. So I want to read that. But the most recent 3 that I put on my TBR is The Ashes and the Star Cursed King, The Crowns of Naxia #2 by Carissa Broadbent. That's the Serpent book that I really enjoyed. Then The Wolf King by Lauren Pal Palfreyman.
Sorry, Lauren. We're only gonna call authors by their first name now.
Sorry. And then Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mendel. Those are my last 3.
Nice. I actually have a couple of recommended books from some people who answered the poll in the first podcast.
Mhm.
You know who you are because I can't see who you are. One is The Maidens and the Silent Patient.
Ooh.
And yeah, and it's by, I guess, the author who wrote The Fury. And I'm not sure who that author is. I guess I could look it up really quickly. But I had never heard of these at all. So I'm very interested
Yeah.
to see what those are next time I add them. I just finished the Atlas 6 series by Olivia Blake and talk about world building. That was crazy and insane. She has such a unique way of writing. This last book, The Atlas Complex, is it's a trilogy. The ending was phenomenal. I've never had an author write the way that she was writing, so it was
I'll
really
have
good.
to add that then.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if you would like it. I had some people say to me that they had DNF'd, which means do not finish, everybody. One of her books called One for My Enemy, and I loved that book. So I don't know. Maybe it's just like a particular style, but I think she's a great she's a great author.
But what's your or your most recent added?
My most recent one is called Once We Were Home. by Jennifer Rosner. I just really liked the cover of it. That's kind of my my fault is that like if I see a cover of a book, I'm like, "Ooh, that's pretty." And then I
Oh,
add it to my
yeah, I'm judging a book by its cover,
TBR.
100%.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, for sure. The second one is the War Girls. Well, girls. The War Girls by V.S. Alexander. It's just a World War II book. I definitely have a soft spot. Not a soft spot. Maybe that's a weird description. A
For World
soft
War
spot for World War II. No, no, no. That's not what I meant. I definitely have a love for that setting. So my third one is Bronze Drum, and that's by, and I'm definitely gonna just absolutely chop this. Fong Nguyen. I'm sorry, Fong, if that's your real name.
II.
Yeah. So sorry about that one. Those are my top three so far.
Nice.
That's that. Crown of
Lovely.
Midnight. Okay, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening. As
Thank you.
always, thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Gma.
Thanks, Shima. Find us on Instagram at
Yep.
shared.chapters. Find us on TikTok at shared.chapters. Find us on YouTube at shared chapters. We're the only channel with that name. We picked that name specifically.
Yep.
Find us obviously on Spotify and Amazon Music and
Yep.
Threads at
Yes.
shared.chapters.
Yep. We're pretty much out there everywhere.
And don't forget to take the poll down below. I'm not sure what the question will be yet because Sarah does that.
Yep. The questions are different on every episode, and they do have a time limit. So make sure you answer those. This week's poll on episode 2 is who do you think will betray Violet from Fourth Wing? And there were some options. And actually, right now, there's one vote for Jacina, but at the very bottom I had put someone else and there's 3 votes for somebody else. Yeah, I think the question again was send us your recommendations, that sort of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. So answer those polls, it's fun. Love
Yep.
interaction.
Anyway, all right.
Thanks.
Have a lovely weekend.
Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
All right.
Bye.